Welcome back, everyone, to the Tastemakers, where we curate your selection of TV and movie viewing. I almost combined movie and viewing into one word. I'm a little rusty because normally Taran Armstrong would be here in the host seat, but I am here instead in the primary host seat. Taran Armstrong wrapping up Big Brother season. We've given Taran Armstrong a little bit of a break. He's a robot, but he does need to be plugged in and plugged in specifically to the Big Brother house. So Taran is off doing that. I will be here helming the Tastemakers for at least a couple of weeks, and I'll have some co-hosts along the way. And so this week, I'm very excited to chat with somebody who I love chatting about television and movies with. It's Jess Sterling. Jess, how you doing?
I'm so good. I'm here for the tasty morsels. I'm excited.
Little charcuterie board. I love our art. We haven't shouted out our art in a long time,
Yeah.
but the lovely graphic designers, our work is the little charcuterie board of television that we get
I
each
love
week.
chakoots. I am
Me
pro
too.
chakoots. Yeah.
Me too. Jess, it's been we haven't you and I haven't chatted about TV, and we talk about TV overall because we're in some of the same social settings. So I see sometimes what you're watching, including I did see recently you've started watching Succession again.
You gotta
Such as
call me
life.
out like that in public. Oh my gosh.
You posted it publicly,
I did.
to
I
some
am
degree, in
rewatching
a
it.
semi-closed, Discord
Yeah.
space. But Jess, such is the nature of life. Jess always beginning, in the middle, or have just ended a Succession rewatch. But we're here to talk about new television and new movies. And I sent you a list of things that were coming out, and you like a nice charcuterie board. You're like, not the pickles over here. I don't know if you're a pickle fan or
I
not.
love
I
pickles.
just kind of should have assumed you like pickles. You
Yeah.
picked out some things. I picked out some things, and we'll chat about them today, Jess.
I'm very excited. I got to experience some new TV this
Mm.
past week. And what's not to love about new TV? There's always something exciting on. So I love it.
I don't know if that's true. I feel like it's been I guess that's true. There's always like kind of something I'm like
You know
watching and I
what?
like, but
Part of it is also like, oh, this show is getting a season 2. Let me go back to season 1 now and like check it out for the first time. So sometimes I'm a little delayed in what I'm experiencing and then it feels like a new discovery even if it has been out for a while.
yeah, there's something on the list that I think you went back and watched at least some of season one of, as like didn't I have not gotten to season two of the show. We'll chat about, but I'm interested to chat a little bit about it later. But I do feel I want to like, what have you been watching this summer, Jet? Like, what I do feel like it was slow, and then I'm looking at the calendar, and I feel like these last 2 weeks in particular, I'm like, oh my god, there's like actually kind of like too much to. And I will say I am going to, over the next little week, as we're bringing in other guests, we are going to be, I feel like, extremely curated. I am not making the effort to watch every single thing that's on, and instead I think I'm going to be a little bit more selective. But
Yeah.
I feel like it was a dry summer for television. Jess,
Yeah.
were you watching much new this summer? Like, we had Dexter and Alien and Task is on right now. Like, are any of these shows you're watching, or you were like
Yes.
old
So
episodes of Succession are on?
currently newest season of Taskmaster has started, so
Oh
I'm
yeah.
obviously watching that. The most recent season of Upload dropped. I am
Oh
not
yes.
done with that yet, but I did a full rewatch of the
You
first 3 seasons ahead of it.
you and I had a extremely similar reaction to Upload coming out, that members of the online community that we're a part of, the old Post Show Recaps Discord, you and I think both were like, did I watch the last season? And then people were like, you actually podcasted about it.
Yeah, we
It's like,
did.
oh,
Yeah, we
that's
did.
embarrassing. Oops. Don't remember a
Is it
thing.
embarrassing for us or for the show that we
Yeah,
didn't remember?
fair enough.
So I am watching that. Obviously, Only Murders in the Building is back, so I'm
That's
watching
right.
that. One of my favorites in the past few months was Dexter Resurrection. I thought that
Yes.
was absolutely incredible. It was so fun and just reminiscent of the very good times that Dexter had.
Yeah.
But yeah, beyond that and some of my rewatches and first watches of old shows, that's pretty much all the new stuff I'm consuming, which doesn't really seem like a lot.
I know. I know. I feel like it was dry. Someone just asked me like, if what should I have watched over the last 3 months, and I was like, uh, you could try Dexter if you like Dexter, and there's this new show Task, and if you didn't see The Rehearsal, that was 3 months ago, which that feels like a lifetime ago, but that
Yeah.
was like July, so that's what I recommended to them.
Yeah. I've seen
It's
one
pretty
episode of
light.
Task so far, and I did really enjoy it. I just haven't had a chance to check out episodes 2 and I think 3, right? It's a Sunday night show now, so even
It's
3
a
has come
Sunday
out
night.
now.
Yes,
Yeah.
Sunday night. It just aired last night.
But I did enjoy
Okay,
what I saw of it. I love Mark Ruffalo, so I was on board as soon as I saw he
I,
was in there.
I like Mark Ruffalo a lot. I do think Tom Pelphrey is going to win an Oscar for that performance. So that's the thing I
He's
keep
killing
telling
it.
people. He's so good in it.
He
And
is killing it, yeah.
Amelia Jones, I also very much like. But I have to admit a small bit of bias about Amelia Jones, which is that I interviewed her for the Task Junket. I saw her about
Oh.
2 days later in person, and she was like, "Those were such lovely questions you asked me, and thank you so much." And she gave me a hug. And so I think I have Amelia Jones bias now.
Okay, that's fair though. That's fair. If she gave you a compliment, totally fair.
Now, okay. Tara and I typically talk a little bit of news. There's a few things that have been newsworthy. There's one ginormous thing that happened. I believe it's been a bit of a whirlwind, but it happened late last week, which is I believe it was last week. Jimmy Kimmel was taken off the air. ABC announced that they were, after maybe some pressure from the government and the people who aired ABC on their television screens, were like, Jimmy Kimmel said some things we don't agree with. Please take him off the air. Created quite an uproar. Seems like there's been some reporting that they've lost like $4 billion. That's a little bit like that's basically their stock tanked, and that's like what they lost in evaluation of what
Mm-hmm.
the stock was worth. So like they have lost a lot of money. Just as we were about to come on, Jess, I saw a news report that Jimmy Kimmel will be back on the air tomorrow night, which will be an extremely interesting bit of television, I imagine. As I will probably try to I'm not sure if I'll watch live. There's a few things that I tried to check out. I do feel like after Jimmy Kimmel's show got canceled, Jon Stewart went on The Daily Show on Thursday. He typically only does Mondays. He decided to come back. I watched the John Oliver thing. I watched Seth
Mm-hmm.
Meyers. I watch everyone's response, and I do feel like there's a little bit of, and I watch them all not on television, Jess. I watch them all on social media, and I feel like that's a little bit of like a good example of what's happened to late night television as a whole. As like Kimmel gets taken off the air for a awful, terrible reason, a violation, I believe, of the First Amendment of the Americas. But when Colbert got canceled earlier this year, there was also like, is this just like, you know, is it an acceleration of the thing that was already dying? Do you watch late night television? Do you watch it in any form whatsoever?
Yeah, mostly consume it via clips like
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Occasionally I will check out a John Oliver episode. He's the one who I would say I'm most likely to watch an entire episode of. But yeah, mostly just through clips. I mean, I hate that I'm like this, but it's there's a lot of stuff out there to be consumed, and I generally only want the morsels of certain types of shows, and late night falls into that category.
Yeah, I feel like this thing where it's like I obviously like separate from whether or not you watch late. I think this was a bad thing to have happened with what happened with Kimmel, and yet I still think it's like like so many. I don't know anybody who just like watches Kimmel at night. The night that it's airing live. I don't do that. I don't think people do that with Fallon or Seth Meyers. John
Mhm.
Oliver, I think, is the exception, and I think because his show is it's so different. It's that sort of one topic thing. I do love a John Oliver episode. I do tend to watch a fair bit of Last Week Tonight, but the rest of the late night, I'm remiss if I could say I
Yeah.
watch a full episode. I am clip watching. So it'll be interesting to see. Very interesting. He's back. I think a lot of celebrities signed a petition and saying that they would boycott working with Disney and ABC if they didn't bring Kimmel back. So I think a lot of pressure to bring him back rather quickly. So it'll be very interesting. The opening monologue of the Kimmel
Yeah.
show tomorrow night. Um, okay. In other sort of like adjacent to TV, Paramount, which recently was bought by Skydance, and Netflix apparently are both trying to buy Warner Brothers Discovery. It just this feels like either way, it's bad news that Warner Brothers is being sold. If it gets sold to a company that's already a maker of film, and I think for two totally different reasons. Paramount, I think it's like they want all the franchises that come with Warner Brothers. I just think it's bad to have less studios. Like this will basically mean like
This is why
Paramount
we don't
and
like
Warner Brothers.
monopolies.
Yeah, we don't want monopolies.
This is
We don't
like
want it.
where's an
And
economist? This
uh,
is what we don't want, actually.
yeah, and then I think the Netflix news was like, oh, and then all the stuff that like gets put out by Warner Brothers will just like not be in theaters. Which I don't know if that's necessarily true or not, but I certainly can understand people being nervous that like Netflix will buy a company, a studio, and then only put the
Yeah.
stuff on Netflix, or at least like not give it a long time in theaters. So you know,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. Ugh, yeah.
was it Barbie's a Warner? But like, imagine Barbie just didn't go to theaters. Like,
It's kind of devastating to think about. That would because that was a
well,
movie that I felt as someone who doesn't go to the movie theater very often, that was something that like you could feel the energy in the room while watching that film with a bunch of people. Like I think I even said to you at some point, like, the range of people that were there, from young girls with their moms to
Yep.
like a
We
group of
talked about
older
this.
women were sitting in front of us, like who looked to be like, retirees who were BFFs. Like it was a huge range of people that were there, and it was really lovely to see. So yeah, imagining Barbie not even getting a theater time would be, it's very sad.
They have had, I think, probably the three biggest movie hits of the summer, which is or of the year, sorry, Sinners, Superman, and Weapons. Like are like probably the three best movie going experiences I've had this year. They also distributed F1 on behalf of Apple Studios. So like, man, if Warner Brothers isn't gets bought by Netflix and doesn't release movies in theaters, I feel like that's like a huge loss. One Battle After Another comes out this weekend, at least limited this upcoming weekend. That I think is going to be a big movie going weekend. I have people who were like, should we go see this together? Which is the first time in a while. Wuthering Heights, the trailer came out for that. That's the next Margot Robbie movie. That's a Warner Brothers Discovery movie. So I feel like it'd be so bad for Netflix to buy. Again,
Yeah.
I mean, it's bad, and then it's extra bad if they then don't release things theatrically. So
Yeah.
bad news. Don't like it. Let's talk about things I do like, just which is the Mando and Grogu trailer drop, which is a movie that's coming out. We were chatting about this a little bit before. You're like, I'm not caught up on the seasons. Like, don't worry, it's a movie. It's not a television show. Mando and Grogu hitting theaters
Is that the name
next
of the
year.
movie? Mando
It's
and Grogu?
it's called The Mandalorian and Grogu is the name of the movie. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I kind of like Mando and Grogu because it kind of sounds like a buddy cop movie.
Yeah, I'm very excited. I mean, all the headlines today were like, "Baby Yoda's back." There's also a appearance in the trailer from my favorite Star Wars character of the last few years, which is Babu Frick, is a big fan favorite of mine. So I'm excited for Mando and Grogu the movie. Are you gonna? Is this you watched season 1 of Mando? That's it.
I've watched season 1. I did Baby Yoda a little bit. I
Yeah.
had to get in on the trend, and I do love Pedro Pascal. I do love me some Pedro. So
I
I
assume
did
in the movie it'll be more real Pedro than he is in the show, where it's like that's just a guy in a helmet most of the time.
just
It's
a
not
guy in a
really
helmet.
Pedro.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was the sad, because now he's like he's Pedro Pascal. Like, we need his face. But no, I did watch season 1. I didn't end up continuing on. I'm not don't come for the pitchforks, people. I'm not a huge Star Wars person.
Mm.
It's just I didn't grow up with it. I don't have like this fondness for it that a lot of people do. I'll probably like maybe possibly check it out somewhere down the line when I'm like catching up on the backlog. I've seen maybe all of the Star Wars films beyond like Solo. Like, I think there was like one or two that I haven't seen, but I've seen
Yeah,
most of them.
the newest ones are like there's like the new trilogy, which I presume you've seen.
I've seen those.
There's Rogue One, there's Solo, and there might be one other one that I'm missing, and I feel bad that I'm missing, but I actually don't think I'm missing one.
I
So
think
I don't think
yeah,
you're in a bad spot.
I've seen
Yeah.
most of them, and I'm actually catching up on Andor currently. So
Oh,
because someone pitched it to me as like the least Star Warsy Star
it
Wars.
it is the least.
And
Yeah.
yeah. So, and we're like mid season 1 currently on that one. So I like Star Wars. It's fine. It's fine. I'm so
Mhm.
sorry. People
No,
hate
no,
this.
no. It's fine. It's fine.
I
Fine.
just
Fine.
I think the idea though of having a Mando and Grogu movie sounds excellent,
So fun.
because people love Baby Yoda. People love Pedro Pascal. This sounds like a great idea for them to just be hanging around having a good time in a movie.
Yeah, this is Jon Favreau, who did a lot of work on Mando. He's in so Dave Filoni, I think, co-wrote the screenplay. I'm so excited for Mando and Grogu. I probably won't shut up about Mando and Grogu. Mando and Grogu is, I think, the thing that like I had always been. No, I guess I should say this. I didn't watch a lot of Star Wars growing up, and then in university, I watched the original trilogy, and I had watched when I was growing up like the prequel trilogy a little
Right.
bit, because that's like the timing of like me when I was like a kid, so I'd watch it, but I wasn't like obsessed with Star Wars. And I loved Force Awakens. So Force Awakens was such a fun theater going experience, and I wasn't even like obsessed with Star Wars. I thought it was like it's one of my favorite movie going experiences of all time. And then Mando and Grogu came out, and I just fell in love with Mando and Grogu in a way that I think, especially that first season, Jess, I'm like actually kind of surprised you didn't stick with it a little bit, because I feel like it has a lot of D&D energy actually. But
Yeah.
not a criticism. But I love Mando and Grogu, even if I don't know that it like you know kept being as good as it was in season 1. I'm so excited for a movie, and I actually think Star Wars has produced pretty good television over the last few years, but really I feel like it should be a movie franchise, because I think that there's something really fun about going to the movies to see a Star Wars thing.
I
So
I do agree
Mando and
with
Grogu.
that. I'm
Yes.
usually pro TV over movies, but this is a franchise that feels like it should be a film series.
Yes, like I think as the Skeleton Crew was the one that I chatted about with Owen Knight. We recapped last year. I thought that it was so fun, but I actually think like there's a world where that would have been a better movie, because it's basically
Mhm.
like Star Wars meets the Goonies, and they should have just done it as a movie. But alas, nevertheless. All right, those are basically the news thing. Christopher Nolan became the head of the Directors Guild. That's cool. He's like probably the most significant director of the last 10-ish years. So makes sense. Good for him.
Good for him.
Yeah, don't have much else to say about Christopher Nolan. Let's talk about new TV that we watched, Jess. Let me pull up my screen here. I think we can start with you watched all of this show, second season returning. I watched the first episode of this show, which is I watched Gen V. Gen V, Jess, returned.
Yeah, I a little background. I love The Boys. I think The Boys is so fun. It is just like the most ridiculous, bombastic, just like over the top superhero show that loves to just make comments on the political climate. And so Gen V, when you sent me this list, I was like, oh, Gen V was something I always meant to check out, and I just hadn't. So I was like, this is a perfect opportunity. So I have binged all of season one and like the first
Whoa.
three episodes, four
Oh, okay.
episodes
When you
of
said
season
watch all
two.
of Gen V, you watch all of season one, and then you've launched into season two. That's great.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
So everything that is out of Gen V, I think I have seen.
Okay. Right.
And
Because it didn't drop all at once. That's right. That's right.
correct. Yeah. So I like it. I think it's interesting. I think there is a noticeable difference so far between seasons 1 and 2. Just because I know just from, being in the circles that we run in that unfortunately they had to kind of rewrite a bit of season 2 after the death of one of the actors whose name
That's right.
is escaping me. Um, but
It's
I
Chance Perdomo, I believe. Is that right?
yes.
Is that right? He passed away. Yeah,
So
passed away March
unfortunately,
2nd.
yeah, Chance Perdomo, he played Andre, passed away in real life between seasons. And so they had to then, not have his character included in season 2, which he was a big character. Like he held a lot of the plot, he carried a lot of it. He was integral to the story.
Yeah.
So I felt that energy going into season 2. You feel like there's something a little bit missing, and on top of that, you can almost tell that they needed to like rewrite some things to fit that into the story. Again, it's not their fault. Like it happened. They had to adjust. I
Mhm.
do think they found their footing. And I'm enjoying season 2. I do think season 1 was much better. I don't know, Grace, part of me, I don't this show certainly feels like a spin-off of The Boys in that
Mhm.
if you have not seen The Boys, I think you might be rather confused with some of the storylines, especially going into season 2. There's like some crossover that I feel like you would be a little lost if you haven't already consumed The Boys, which maybe why would you be watching this without having watched The Boys, you know?
Yeah, yeah, that's so interesting because, like, to some degree, like the Boys is ending soon after the next season. They've said that the next season is its last season, which I
Mhm.
think is really good for that show. There was a little bit of I felt like that show had like characters had plot armor and for like how
Yes.
graphic and like intense and high stakes it is. It also was starting to feel like there were so many people who were never going to be written off the show. And I think putting an end date on the show makes it clear, except then you have Gen V, where you do have characters from The Boys showing up in this show somewhat consistently. And the storylines are overlapping or affected by each other. So it is sort of this interesting situation where I agree with you that it's not this like sort of clean, like here, go over here and do this whole thing. It all still is sort of interconnected, which I think is a challenge that like many franchise properties have, is how connected to keep it and how
Right.
separate to keep it. And I do think Gen V for sure. The thing I find for both The Boys and Gen V is I find that I really like it, but I don't know that I love it in the way that I think most people do. And the tone of the show is not exactly where like my meter is dialed to. all of the time. I do think it can be extremely fun. It's just like not exactly what I'm looking for out of a
Yeah.
television show. So I'm just like a little bit mismatched on it, but I can watch it and be like, oh, it's good. And the idea of like this like younger group of folks with more maybe smaller stakes to a degree is good
Yeah.
too.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's fun the concept, right? When you say there is a university with superheroes who all have different powers, right? Like almost like an X-Men sort of a, right?
Mhm.
You get to see all these different powers. Oh, this girl has a tail and it's really interesting. It's a fun concept. I think in execution occasionally it doesn't follow through in that, and this is something The Boys does as well, where it's what is the most ridiculous over the top thing that we can do to make people like cringe and look away from their television screen? We want to do that. That's kind of what it always feels like they're aiming for. And then it feels like story sometimes then comes secondarily to that. But I will say the acting on the show, I do really think is pretty good. Jazz Sinclair, who plays Marie Moreau, one of the main
Yeah.
characters, I
Mhm.
think she is supremely talented. She carries the show so well. Like she's really, really good. Lizzie Broadway is another one who plays Emma. I was immediately endeared to this character and I really enjoy her. I think she's fumbling around a little bit in season 2 in a way that I wish they had a better storyline for her. But the acting is decent. I
Yeah.
think the story is sometimes doesn't really hold up.
Yeah, I've only watched one episode of the newest season, and I'm a little like I definitely could have watched more, and I ended up putting on something else that like I felt like was like better to like. So you had mentioned you would watch something, and I watched that instead of watching more of the second season, and I'm a little like I probably will keep up with this, but I don't know that I'm like gonna be like waiting for the episodes to drop. Very
Yeah.
excited to see Hamish Linklater here in the show, and I know he's not like I feel like the show is a standout for like the younger cast, but Hamish Linklater I really love in Midnight Mass. He's Father Paul. Is one of the central people in that show?
He
If
is
you've seen it,
eerie in this
I
show.
I think
He
he's
is
like
so creepy.
yeah, very good to like show it, like to introduce him as basically the God you the dean of that
Yes.
university as like a central authority bad guy that I'm sure there's probably more to him than what we've seen so far, but we
Usually
shall
is,
we
yeah.
shall see. But I really love Hamish Linklater. I second the piece about Jazz Sinclair and Lily Broadway, especially, and yeah, and then it's you said it really well up at the top, but there is just like sort of a noticeable gap in the show considering Chance Perdomo sadly passed away last year. So they had to figure out what to do next. But yeah, I mean, there, if you want wild things to happen on your television show, you should watch Gen V.
Yes.
There's
A
some
lot of blood. Be
there's a lot of
forewarned.
there's a lot of blood. There's a lot of frat boy partying stuff this
Sex,
last
drugs, rock
episode.
and roll is kind of
Sex,
the
drugs.
MO.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So, I think not a bad way to spend your time, but if you're looking for like the most prestigious television show on the air, I don't know the Gen V
No.
is going to deliver, but yeah. Um, all right. I feel like a show that's sort of taking a swing at trying to be a pretty prestige show is Black Rabbit, which debuted on Netflix this past week. This is a Jason Bateman, Jude Law show. Believe Jason Bateman, if I have this correct, I believe he is. I don't know if he created it. I think he's directing some of the episodes. I'm going to pull up what he did
Yeah,
on
I
the
was gonna say I
show.
think he might be is he producing part of it?
Looks like he is he didn't create it. I think he directed the first two episodes.
That's what I
Very
was
very
thinking,
fun.
yes.
Laura Linney is doing the next two. I thought that she's on the show, and Justin Kurtzel, who people might know from The Order. He's done a bunch of stuff. He is he's directing the last two episodes. The premise of this is basically like Jude Law and Jason Bateman are brothers. Jude Law runs a like sort of high-end fancy restaurant, sort of a hot spot in town. They have a New York Times critic coming to review the restaurant and the food, and it's on that same day that like Jason Bateman, his sort of like ne'er-do-well, up to no good, kind of like a down on his luck more maybe, brother shows back up in New York, and is trying to figure out how to get himself out of all of the messes he's in that primarily relate to he owes people money. And that's sort of like where we start off in the show. I actually got to see the first episodes at the film festival. I was at a
Oh,
screening where Jason Bateman and Jude Law, they actually like walked right by me. I was like, hello. And they're like, hello. It was
oh,
very
that's
cool.
cool.
Um, uh, I have to say, Jess, unfortunately, I wish this was like better than I thought it was. I also no, I watched the first 4 episodes.
I think I've
And
seen 3 at this point now.
yeah. And I don't think this is bad. There's some like people throwing that this is kind of like Ozark. I don't think it's Ozark really at all. Like it's not the same.
No,
It has a bit of a different vibe. I think Bateman
it's
is playing.
darker.
Yeah, Bateman is playing very Ozark's pretty dark.
No, I mean, like, I meant more Ozark feels more like we're we're a family down on our luck that is trying to figure out a way to make it work, almost like a Breaking Bad, right? Whereas this just feels like we are two brothers who make very poor decisions constantly. We don't know how to make the right decision. We're just doing bad things all the time. This is a show that makes this is like if an anxious person's nightmare. If you don't like watching people make mistakes, not the show for you. Everybody's making mistakes constantly.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree with. I mean, I feel like Jude Law is like playing a pretty like what is he playing like he has this brother who he wants to help and figure out how to get himself out of this mess while also like trying to keep Jude Law's very much like keeping things together. I think his name is Jake in the show.
Yeah.
He's divorced. He's like got a kid. He's like trying to like be a good dad and keep this restaurant up and running and like support the chef who's like this is her dream of like being able to run a restaurant like and then I feel like you throw Bateman in. He plays Vince, who's this like, agent of chaos in the mix of everything. And sort of like I feel like he's the one really like making all these poor decisions that are like, I mean, the first episode is called The Cyclone, which I think like you have to
Yeah.
believe that like Bateman is the cyclone who comes in. I don't know. There's something, first of all, I, I think that they're like, again, I think the show is good. It's just not great. That's sort of my opinion on
Yeah.
the show, that it feels very much like, um to some degree it feels like a show that was like made in a laboratory rather than a show that was like made because somebody had this thing they wanted to say. Like I do kind of like I feel kind of bad comparing it to Task to a degree, but there's something about both of those are like these like crime shows that are set in in these locations, and there's something I feel like that's like Task is saying I feel like so much, and Black Rabbit to me is like kind of just like I don't know. It feels like it was a painting that was commissioned instead of like this thing that was made out of and I feel bad
Yeah.
saying it like that, but that's a little bit of just like the vibe I got from watching Black Rabbit, that I was like, this could be really good. I just think there's like something sort of missing from it being like magical and amazing.
Yeah, it's interesting. I obviously love Jude Law, love Jason Bateman, right? Like I think the cast is pretty great.
Mhm.
I just think they're spinning a lot of plates. There's a lot up in the air all the time on the show. And I think my problem with Jude Law's character Jake is I don't particularly find him to be as heroic as I think maybe the show wants us to think he is. I think we're supposed to view it as like Vince, played by Jason Bateman, is like the F up. He's the screw up. He's the older brother who like constantly needs his younger brother to bail him out. Like
Yeah.
that's kind of their dynamic, right? But something about the way Jude Law plays Jake reads as a little smarmy, as like a little slimy, and maybe that's intentional, but I find that they both are kind of like not rootable. It's just like they're constantly making moves where you're like, stop it, don't stop doing that. Like you're gonna do a bad thing and it's gonna backfire. And I think they're both like that rather than I think what it's maybe supposed to be more of based on their appearances, based,
Yeah.
just that Jason Bateman, who normally would be playing the Jude Law role, let's be clear. Like he normally is the guy who is dressed in a suit,
Mhm.
clean shaven, but I like him playing against type. I do think that's very fun. He has this beard and long hair. And I just think it's not, yeah, there's something not quite there. And I don't know. And maybe it's also just the way they're telling the story. Sometimes they're kind of bouncing a little bit around in time. And so that is not necessarily helpful either. I don't love it. I'll probably continue to watch it just to like see what happens, but I'm not in love with this show.
Yeah, I mean, I think the good thing it's all out, so you could watch. I think 8 episodes. Yeah, fully out. You could just watch the whole thing already.
Yeah.
I kind of agree with you. I do think Bateman. I do think it's like in Ozark. He again, I don't think that these are the same shows, but in that show, he's very like buttoned up, straight laced. He's like the banker guy. He's the kind of the one being like he's in the South, being like you guys are all kind of like idiots, and I only have to be here because I'm like on the run. And this he's so opposite, the scraggly beard. When we first meet him, he's like in the casino trying to get endless free drinks. He's very fun. I think he's very good. I do butt up against the Jude Law thing. They have Jude Law, I think, trying to do an American accent. It's so Jude Law accents. I was at the film festival, and he's in Wizard of the Kremlin, where he plays Vladimir Putin, but he has a British accent. And other people in the movie have like Russian accents, and I'm like, what are we doing? Like, I don't quite understand. And
His
so
New York accent is not good. It's
I
not good, and
I
I feel
know.
bad. It's just not good. And it's just very when it is very obvious to me, I feel like that's a problem because I'm not someone who like necessarily always cares, but it is just not great. I will say Jude Law aged very gracefully. He looks great.
He someone asked me at the
Yeah.
festival because I said the worst movie I saw, I think, was Wizard of the Kremlin. We were talking about Jude Law, and someone said, "Do you think the more handsome he's getting, the worse of an actor he's becoming?"
Oh no.
Which
Oh
maybe I
no.
don't know. He's, I
Also,
mean,
shout out to Succession because my girl Carolina makes an appearance as his wife
she
in the
does
show.
she does she is in the she is yeah, that's yeah, fun drop. I don't know.
Love
I
her.
just think I just yeah, I don't know. And because there's something about like Jude Law, his character is not supposed to be super squeaky clean, because I do think like it's not like this restaurant is like Michelin star great. It's kind of like
No, it's
there's
kind of
like
grimy,
it
right?
is
Like
kind of grimy, and
it's
the
not upper class. It's very much like we want a like club like atmosphere that serves high end food, but it's still very loud. You'll still find people doing drugs everywhere. Like it's still kind of grimy.
yes. So I don't know, but I haven't finished it. So if it gets better, I'll let folks know. But
Hmm.
I'm mostly because I was really looking forward to this. Is mostly why I'm probably like sounding a little more down on it than I probably actually am. I do
Yeah.
like Troy Kotzer as the sort of mafioso, thing there, where like he's the guy who Bateman owes
Yes.
money to. I think he's really good in it. And then the other thing I will say, there's a scene in episode 2 where Bateman winds up getting some money, and then he makes a really bad decision and he starts gambling all that money. And I thought that whole sequence where is just it's kind of there's a reason why like so many movies have been like, what if someone gets all the money they need and then they decide to go gamble it, and it's like it's so tense and not fun to watch in a way that's very fun
It
to
makes
watch,
my
if that makes
stomach
sense.
hurt. Yeah,
Yeah,
it makes my
yeah,
stomach hurt. It's like the time that I went to see Uncut Gems
yeah,
in the
yeah.
movie theater. I was uncomfortable the entire movie. I was like white knuckling that
Yeah.
entire movie. Yeah.
There's a moment where he is running away from some people, and it literally watching it in like a theater full of people, it got a tremendously big laugh. There's a moment where he goes into a room thinking he's gonna hide, and the automatic lights go on and it turn on, and it's so I thought that was so funny. So like I do give the show some credit for like it has some like there
Yeah.
is more going on than it just like it's not really boring. I just think it's not always working. So I give
Yes. Yeah,
it
I
some
agree.
credit there. Um Okay, you and I, Jess, we both watched a movie that came out on Hulu recently called Swiped. This is the story of Whitney Wolfe Herd, who is the co-founder of Tinder and created Bumble. And sort of the story of her journey along those, you know, that piece of the thing where she ultimately, I'm trying to, it's a true story, so I'm trying not to maybe spoil it, but she, has reasons why basically this sort of tech industry, and specifically tech industry related to sort of these sort of dating apps, her journey through it and navigating the sexism and harassment that she faces from other people, starring Lily James. Jess, what'd you make of Swiped?
It just felt like I'd seen this movie before. And I know I hadn't, but it just feels like we've seen this movie, right? Like it's the tech genius starts out poor and ends up making something really cool and ends up getting like screwed over in some way, shape, or form, and do they get vengeance? Do they create something else that's cool? I again, like, all respect to Whitney Wolf Herd. I just feel like I've seen this story. Interestingly, it is following a woman, so maybe that's slightly different, right? Given that the tech industry is very male dominated. That part was interesting, I suppose. I just I don't know. It felt long. You felt, what was it, an hour 50? It felt like an hour 50.
Yeah.
Uh it was fine. I don't know. I'm like so tired of watching misogyny on TV.
Yeah.
Maybe that's it too. I don't know.
Yeah, this cast was I was so excited when I like this was playing at TIFF as well. I did not see it at TIFF. I watched it this week. Lily James, Mahala, who we both love from Industry.
Yeah.
Dan Stevens, I love Dan Stevens. I am a big Dan Stevens fan. I was like very excited for this. And immediately I just heard that it was not good. And so I avoided it at the festival and waited because I knew it was coming to streaming very quickly. I think for the subject matter, I find the story, to be fairly uh best word is like there's a really interesting story in here in terms of like the person who creates Tinder sort of gets like boxed out from that because she had a relationship with the executive producers or the co-creators of the thing, and that leads to her doing Bumble. But I just thought like so the way it's shot and filmed was so hokey and like cheesy, and like there's like the scenes where like she's flirting with the guy, they're like done over ping pong, and all the scenes of like how they named things or um came up with ideas, like when they're coming up with the ideas of like swipe right, swipe left, like those I feel like could have been so cool. And like not that this was ever going to be The Social Network, but like to some degree, like yeah, you have to movie ties, like you have to dramatize like these moments. I just thought these came off like so cheesy and
Yes.
unbelievable. And
Like,
there's a way that I'm watching other movies and I'm like, oh, that's not how it happened, but oh, that's such a cool movie moment. And I didn't really feel like these were cool movie
no,
moments.
it felt very cheesy. Like the one where they're like, "Oh, but oh, I hate it when guys approach me." And she's like, "Oh, like
Yeah.
epiphany. Let me write this down on a bar napkin." Like it's very, yeah, it's really cheesy. I don't know. I think I wanted to like it more than I ended up liking it. And then to no fault of like the actors really.
Lily
It
James, I
was,
think, is actually pretty good in this movie. I just think that
yeah.
like it's like she's not given enough to do with. I can see why she took this role. It's like I think there's a movie that went under the radar a few years ago that I think is like really good, and I think that it was like because of the time it came out. It's She Said, and this is all about the women who filed the first story against Harvey Weinstein, and I think
Mm-hmm.
that the cast is great. This is Carey Mulligan and Zoe Kazan, but also Patricia Clarkson. Tom Pelphrey is in this movie. I think this movie is great, and it got nominated for some stuff, but it didn't really. And I think it was sort of similar to what you were saying, kind of at the end, like people are sort of like, unfortunately, like it's a heavy subject matter. People feel like they don't want to like opt in to like when it's so much in the culture, like the culture can be so toxic.
Yeah.
It feels so like we see this stuff in our face all the time that like why would I go to the movie theater or turn on the movie at home? The other one that was like I can't remember which the other one was, but there was another interesting one that came out a few years ago that was about is it the unfortunately it might be the Megan Kelly movie that came out that was like about her. I think we've had a few of these, and again, I think like they're important subject matter experts. Just can be a little, you know, uh,
Yeah.
a lot. And then I just don't think this was done like. I get that you don't want it to be like a dark, sad movie all the time, but then also I don't know. Then if this felt like it, like they went too much in the other direction, where it's like too
Yeah.
happy go lucky.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
didn't work for me.
yeah. Um, the other big thing, I feel like we should talk about this just because like it's a thing, it's a sort of a sensation that I think like sort of misses this. Taran and I have not been chatting about it, but the Summer I Turned Pretty, have you had any inkling to the Summer I Turned Pretty at all? I
Yeah, it's
mean,
a phenomenon, huh? I so The Summer I Turned Pretty is based on a novel, a trilogy,
yeah,
by this of the same name. And I believe that the author is really, really involved in the show as well. Um, Now, I've read the books. they are very, like, very young adult, right? Like, to
Mm-hmm.
the point where as a 30-ish year old woman,
Mm-hmm.
it is, like, super frustrating dealing with these youths, you know?
Mm-hmm.
The show I've seen 1 season of.
Mm-hmm.
My problem was that because I knew it was coming back this summer, I was like, "Oh, I'll finish the book series." I never ended up doing that. Okay, I read all 3 books. I hated the 3rd book so much that I couldn't possibly then torture myself by watching the 2nd and 3rd seasons of the show.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's very it's very love triangle-y, like, oh, are you team this or team that? Are you team Edward or team Jacob? Are you, which
Yes.
team are you? So are you team Conrad or team Jeremiah?
Right.
And yeah, it's all over social media.
It's
People love
big.
this
It's
show.
a
Yeah.
sensation. Big deal. That they said we did 3 books. We're doing 3 seasons, but a movie is coming, I believe.
Yeah, why though? Like, why are we doing a movie? Do we need a movie?
I don't. I've never
Money?
watched the show, so yeah,
Okay. Money is
money.
probably the answer to the question I asked, but
Mm-hmm.
I
It's
don't
you'd
really
be
need
surprised. It's
to.
the answer to most questions,
Is
actually.
money, yeah. It
Yes.
just feels like we could wrap this up. Like, we could wrap this up at the end of the book. We wrapped up the end of the book. We could wrap up the end of the show. No, you gonna 3 seasons of the movie.
You've read all the books. You've finished all the
Mm-hmm.
books. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you Team Conrad or are you Team Jeremiah?
Ugh. The thing was, up until, without doing major spoilers, up until book 3, I was very pro Jeremiah. I was
All
very
right.
team Jeremiah. He is the fun loving younger brother, because Conrad is such a moody, just like, he has a sourpuss constantly. He's
Mm,
just always upset about something. He's always such a sourpuss. He's just sour grapes. He's no fun. He's a wet blanket.
mm,
Jeremiah is a good time, fun, happy guy.
mm,
Okay. Then we get to book 3, and they're like, yeah, you know how Jeremiah is such a fun time, happy guy? We're
mhm,
going to make that the worst thing about him. We're going to make it that he is so immature that he annoys the bejesus out of you. So then
mm,
you're kind of like, well, I guess I'll be Team Conrad, like, whatever. I think a
mm.
lot of people are Team Conrad simply because it's very obvious from the very beginning that Belly, which is a terrible name for a character, but that's okay. Uh,
Belly. Yeah.
It's because her name is Isabel and they call her Belly. It's like, if
Uh-huh.
I was a teenage girl and someone called me Belly, I would want to die.
Okay.
Stop it.
Yep. Fair.
Um, People are Team Conrad because it's very obvious that, like, Belly loves Conrad. It's like her first love, her only love. Everything revolved, the sun, the earth, the moon, the star, everything revolves around Conrad.
Mm-hmm.
I just find him to be mopey and annoying.
Okay.
Uh so yeah, that's the gist of it. And listen, if you're a Team Conrad person, I'm so sorry to burst your bubble. He's so mopey. I like to be around happy people, you know? I don't want
Mm-hmm.
someone's gonna drag me down into their dark hole abyss.
Okay. Fair
And
enough.
that's what Conrad is like.
Feel like sometimes I like being dragged into a dark. I don't know if
You
you know
love
this,
to
but
be in
I
the
do.
dark abyss.
When I was telling everyone about my favorite TIFF movies, like, okay, so this one made me cry, this one made me cry, and this one made me cry. Those are my 3 favorite
Yeah.
movies. They were the saddest movies. Yeah. So maybe it sounds like I might be Team Conrad without
You
having
probably are
watched it,
Team
but
Conrad,
I'll probably
yeah.
have to check it out at some point. Fill in my blind spot. Okay, a movie that or a show that I don't think either of us have watched any of the new season, but high potential. Jess, you decided to begin to check it out, but then we're a little bit daunted by the fact that they're
Yeah.
long episodes. This is not like traditional short comedy, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm an idiot. Here's the thing. I saw Caitlin Olsen in a show and I was like, obviously this is a 30-minute sitcom.
Yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
obviously, right? Started it, realized it was a procedural that is like at least 40 minutes an episode, and that season 1 has like 13 episodes. So I got about 5 or 6 episodes deep into season 1. Here's the thing. I think it's a fun show. As far as procedurals go, I do think it's very fun. It almost reminds me of Poker Face a
Yep,
bit.
I agree.
Um
Totally.
and I think mostly carried on the back of Caitlin Olsen. She is hilarious. I truly think she could star in almost any show and I would want to tune in because she's that engaging and funny. And just obviously she's very different than like a cop that she'd be hanging out with, right? So I do think it's a fun show. I didn't realize what I was getting into, I guess.
It's really good. People love it. I mean, I think it's a 96% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes and an 81 popcorn score. Like people do love it. What's it on? Yeah, like a 7.6. It's like fairly good. I really like it. I think it's fun. I haven't watched the first episode of the new season. It's a show that's going to be airing weekly. I really like it. I love Caitlin Olsen. I really like. I feel like what's so fun is all like the It's Always Sunny people have like so much. They have like they have been just doing that show for so long, and they don't do that many episodes that they all just go off and do all of their own other stuff in a way
Yeah.
that's really fun. I like the show a lot. I will be checking it out. I just wasn't able to catch the first episode this week.
Yeah. I just think Kate Reynolds is so funny. And this character is she's so quick, right?
Yeah.
This is gonna sound strange in terms of like if you like this, you might like this. Like if you like the style of like a Gilmore Girls, like the fast-paced nature of a Gilmore Girls, you might like High Potential.
Right.
Obviously, keep in mind that it is a procedural. Like
Right.
it's not the same thing as a fun time, like fall obsessed people watch Gilmore Girls, but it's really good. I'm definitely gonna continue watching it.
Yes. Okay. A show that I have also not checked out, but I'm very excited to the morning show return this week, which I like to advertise as the best bad show on television. This is
Yeah.
a show that just also just spends, I think, all of Apple's money, which is not really true. Like it just has like every
I thought that was the space show.
For All Mankind, yeah, kind of similar, but like and Sever, the Apple TV, is great they just spend a lot of money. But the show just like somebody said it recently where it was like they don't just have like somebody play somebody. They're like who is the person who will play this very famous. I believe Jeremy Irons is in this latest season playing someone's dad, I think. Like so they
Oh, no
just
kidding.
and then the way that this show just tries to tackle every rip from the headline thing. They've done a January 6th episode. They've done COVID. They've done, just like everything. I believe there's a bunch of Olympic stuff this season that's happening because they're like a morning news show. I do just love kind of watching the show, even if I don't always think it's amazing. Ariel and I covered the show for a bit as well. It also got renewed for another season before the season aired. So fun. I love the morning show. I'm very excited to jump back into it.
I know I've seen some of it because I remember Steve Carell was like the Matt Lauer, right?
Yes.
And I was very sad because I love Steve Carell and I didn't want him to be a bad guy.
Mhm.
I think I noped out probably during the COVID storyline. I'm usually not a super big fan of those types of storylines, so that's probably when I dropped off. I don't even know if I made it to season 2, honestly.
Okay, if you didn't, you should let me know whether you think you finished season 1 because I do think you should know what happens to Steve Carell's character.
I might. I'll have to look. I'll have to go on your favorite app in mine, Grace TV Time, and see where I had left off because that's the only way I know what I watched is my app tells me. I've seen all of season 1. I never started season 2.
So, but then, do you remember what? Okay,
of course
hold
I
on.
don't
Let me
remember. Grace.
hold on.
I
Let
know
me
I
see.
watched it.
Okay, let me see if I. Let me see.
You're so funny thinking I remember things I've watched.
Where's Steve Carell? This show just has so many people that I love as well. Like I love Billy Crudup. I love Greta Lee, obviously. It also has Tig Notaro is in the show. John Hamm was in the show. Stephen Fry is in the show. Just like the endless amounts of people who are in the show that I love.
That Apple money.
Let me just see. Steve Carell. How long was he on this? Okay, I do need you to watch season 2 of this show, Jess.
Okay.
Because I do need you to see what happens to Steve Carell's character.
Okay.
Yeah. They do write him off, I will say. He's not on anything past season 2.
Okay.
And I
I'll
do
watch
need
one
you,
more season of it.
please.
How many episodes?
Although I'm so sorry to tell you that I believe all the COVID stuff happens in season 2. I have
see
to
what are you doing to me?
Yeah.
Oh, it is 10 episodes. Okay. Well, we'll see. I'll slow burn it.
I'm almost certain that like literally the whole season is like hey, I think COVID's gonna happen in America. So just so you know. Like I'm reading the beginning of the
calm before the storm. Okay.
Well, the episode title or the plot synopsis for episode 10 is as COVID-19 begins to spread across the USA. Bradley takes the lead.
Well, we're not in the thick of it then. That's good. Yeah. I had to skip an entire season of Grey's Anatomy because they decided to do a COVID thing, and I was like, I'm not. I did this once.
Yeah,
not again.
Fair enough.
No, thank you.
Fair enough. All right, that's basically I think what was sort of in terms of what we watched and what was on, unless I missed anything else. There was some movies. A Big Bold Beautiful Journey. Him came out to pretty bad reviews. It seems like I have not watched. I have to say I have not been doing a good job getting back to the movie theater after I was at the film festival. So
Well, you did see like 70,000 things
I
in like
did.
a week, so that's fair enough.
It's stopping the screen share there, Jess. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Let's talk about then what is coming up this week. There are many television shows that I'm very excited for, Jess, this week. And actually, there's about 6 new TV shows
Woo.
that come back. Let's start with the first, Slow Horses season 5. You ever slow horsed, Jess?
I slow horsed a few seasons. I think once upon a time maybe we covered it on full spoiler recaps over on Post
We
Show
did
Recaps.
do that. We did.
So I've seen 3 seasons. Unfortunately, I feel like it was a little too slow for me. So I definitely stopped watching after we covered it. But some parts I liked and some parts I was like, eh.
Slow Horses just returns every year I believe the like production time here is like basically like it I
It's
think
like an only murder situation, right?
yeah,
Like,
but even quicker, I think sometimes. Like
woo.
sometimes they've turned out shows in
It is
less than a
British,
year.
so they probably only
Uh,
have like 6 episodes
yeah,
or
okay,
something.
yeah, I will say 6 episodes. But
Yeah.
season 5 premieres September 24th on Apple TV. It is going to be a weekly release, but 6 episodes. They, I
Mhm.
believe, have already almost or basically this is the fantastic thing they do, Jess. At the end of the season, they often not only do they say like it's coming back, they show a sizzle reel for the next season of stuff that they've already filmed. That's how quickly they turn around these shows.
Wow.
So season 6 is coming, and the show got renewed for season 7 already. So this is
Good
not
for
a show
Gary
you have to
Oldman.
worry. You don't have to worry. And Gary Oldman has basically said, I will play this character for the rest of my life. I think Jackson Lamb is
Why
like one
wouldn't
of
he? He like doesn't even have to shower to play this character. You know, he just
that's
shows up to work and he's good to go.
that's extremely true. He's so good. I think that the character is it's more than that. It's more than just like a disgusting guy.
Mhm.
If you liked, and I know like probably watch Slow Horses if you watch these, but like Black Doves, Department Q, these sort of shows on Netflix, if you've watched those, you will like Slow Horses. They're easily bingeable. Don't worry about being like, oh, I got to catch up on 5 seasons of the show. Just like watch a season, watch through it at your own pace, pick it up at another. If you're always like looking for something to watch, you could just watch a season of Slow Horses. Highly recommend. Slow Horses comes back. An interesting one, English Teacher season 2. Jess, did you watch English Teacher season 1? This is
I
the
watched
Brian Jordan Alvarez show.
Yeah, I watched some of The English Teacher and then I definitely fell off. I think there was a specific episode. Aha! I think it was the Student Gun Club episode where I was like, I think I'm done here. I don't know about this anymore.
Oh,
And I think I noped out at that point. That was episode 4. So I've seen a few episodes of
oh.
season 1 before I was like, it's not quite hitting for me in the way that like an Abbott Elementary did, you know?
Oh, I think English Teacher is fantastic. Unfortunately, it's been a little bit riddled with controversy since it aired.
Mm.
Brian Jordan Alvarez was accused of harassment, sexual harassment, to people that a guy who used to work for him. So, very interestingly, there had been rumors about whether it was coming back. It's coming back. They're basically dropping it within 2 days. So, there's a show that aired weekly before. They are dropping 3 episodes on September 25th, and they are dropping the remaining 7 the next day. That is how quickly they're just like putting the show out.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a show that had, I think, a ton of like potential Emmy success last year. I think the like timing of it coming out like very kind of early on in the Emmy season, like it's kind of like June to next May. So it's like, it didn't really get honored like it didn't get honored for anything this year. I think just because it was like so long since it came out, and obviously it was sort of like riddled with this
Yeah.
the controversy. But I do think the show is funny and says a lot. So we'll see. Disney,
Mhm.
they didn't cancel it, which they very much could have done. They uh put it out. Okay. New shows, The Lowdown, Jess. So you know anything about this is I keep asking you as
Lowdown.
if you should know. I don't mean to do that. I'm asking them in a rude way. This is an Ethan. Let me like pitch you on shows,
Yes,
and you
please.
react to it. That's how we'll do this.
Okay,
Okay.
great.
The Lowdown is Ethan Hawke. He is it's advertised as a man who knows too much in Tulsa, Oklahoma. This is going to be this looks fun. Maybe I should be sharing my screen again.
He's a
Maybe I
man
should
who
be doing-
knows too much about what?
Loosely based by Leroy Chapman, who was a American historian, citizen journalist, activist, and
Huh.
artist who reshaped contemporary understanding of Tulsa, Oklahoma's racial history. That is what the show is
Okay.
advertised as. This is an FX show.
Is it
Um,
drama, like a crime
this is like a
drama?
bit of a crime drama, I believe. It also has
Okay.
Tim Blake Nelson. It has Peter Dinklage. It has
Oh.
Tracy Letts in it. It has
Fuck.
Kyle MacLachlan in it. Um,
Listen, I
I
do like Ethan Hawke, and I do love Peter Dinklage. Ethan Hawke and Jude Law, in Gattaca, one of my favorite movies as like a teen. Uh,
th-
yeah.
this comes from the first two episodes. I believe the first episode and the finale are written and directed by Sterling Harjo, who is known for working on Reservation Dogs.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
yeah, so there's some FX crossover. Did he create he executive produced, directed, and co-wrote uh Reservation Dogs. So
Okay.
yeah, yeah. So I think this is going to be a thing. It's like going to be very it's going to say a lot here. It's fun Ethan Hawke perform. If you look at any of the trailer stuff, he's like all in his like sort of cowboy getup. I think this is going to be fun. This I think has a lot of buzz. So seeing a lot of advertisements for this. This also played at the film festival. They did a premiere of this. I just was not able to catch it. So
Mhm.
a noir it's being called.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe
Mhm.
I'd check something like that out.
Here we go. Lee Rabun, played by Ethan Hawke, lives, owns, and works in a rare bookstore in Tulsa, Oklahoma. His compulsion to learn the truth about Tulsa's unofficial aristocracy, along with disinterest in letting so-called rules of conduct get in his way, keep him in steady trouble. When his latest expose about a powerful and potential corrupt Tulsa family results in a tragedy involving the household's black sheep, he quickly realizes he has uncovered something. So,
Interesting.
the lowdown. I'm
Sounds
excited for
pretty
the
good.
lowdown.
Yeah.
I'm check out the lowdown. Okay, Wayward, Jess, is a Netflix show from Mae Martin. Okay, this is Mae Martin's second Netflix show after Feel
Yes.
Good. This is a thriller starring Toni Collette, where Toni Collette plays like
Yes.
the
It's
face
like,
of
is this the camp counselor thing?
not getting a troubled teen industry. So like
That's right. That's right. I remember I follow Mae Martin on social media because
yes,
I love them.
yes.
Uh and so I remember seeing things about this. I definitely am going to be checking this out. Most assuredly checking this out. Yes.
Um, I like this. I've seen a bunch of this, not all of it. I actually have an interview coming out with Mae Martin this week. So
I
I
couldn't be more
interviewed
jealous right now. Oh my
yeah, I
god.
I interviewed Mae Martin in person. We met in person
Did you
while I was
die?
at the I did die a little, yeah. And then afterwards I was like, I didn't even say all the stuff I wanted to say because I was so nervous. I was so, like sweating. I never done an in-person interview. This
Yeah.
show is really good. Mae talks about the fact that they had a friend growing up who was sort of sent away to like a troubled teen resort academy place thing that was very bad and very good. There's like a full thriller, somewhat horror. I would say it's not as much as horror as it is thriller.
Mhm.
But yeah, May plays a cop who sort of starts working, moves with their partner to the town. I guess his partner in the show plays a trans man in the show, and slowly begins to be like, that doesn't seem right. And
Yeah.
Toni Collette playing sort of like has like the big old school glasses, and
70s glasses, yeah.
it's also set, I think, like in the early 2000s. So like, inspired by like, I can't
Yeah.
remember exactly the time period, but there's some fun stuff with like the needle drops and things like that. So,
This
Wayward.
feels up my alley. Yeah.
I think you'll like Wayward. Yeah. Um,
Yeah, I do like a thriller. I'm not always the biggest fan of like a horror movie, but thrillers I actually really like. Grace, I really recently watched A Quiet Place,
oh,
and
that's it. But
I've
yeah,
never seen it before,
it's
and
fun.
I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and then House of Guinness is going to be on Netflix, and this is an Irish historical drama about the Guinness Brewing Company. No, no,
Yeah, probably not
not
for me.
into it.
No, I don't
Um,
drink beer. Yeah, it's documentary.
I heard a
Yeah.
little. But I heard a little bit of like, what if Succession meets Guinness? That's what I heard.
People love to name drop Succession to compare things to it, and I find that it is rarely true. They're like, it's Succession meets blank, and I'm like, Is it though? Is it? I don't know.
Yeah.
Because they know
The
that's how they'll get me to watch. They just know it.
Yeah, I have to say the cast for this looks like Anthony Boyle, who people might know from he was in Say Nothing, the FX show last year, Masters of the Air. He was in the Tetris movie. He's been in a bunch of stuff. I really I like Anthony Boyle a lot. He will be sort of the lead in this show. So he's playing Arthur Guinness. Okay, then the last one I have for you in terms of television shows is The Savant. This is a crime thriller starring Jessica Chastain. And it is inspired by true life story of is it possible to stop a mass shooting before it happens? It's about Jessica Chastain plays a person who infiltrates online hate groups in order to prevent large scale public attacks. I have a feeling that for many people this will fall into the similarly to the swipe thing of like, I don't know if I want to watch this right now.
Yeah. That's fair. That's
Yeah,
fair. Yeah.
yeah. I think that if this if this ends up being good, I think we'll see. But this is written by Melissa James Gibson, who wrote episodes for The Americans and House of Cards. So sort of think in terms of that sort of
Mhm.
infiltration, political commentary on the world, that sort of thing. Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
see.
You know what else I did watch recently, Grace, that I forgot to bring up? It was a show, a mini series. I think it was a mini series. Called The Girlfriend. I only thought of it because you brought up Robin Wright. Have you heard of this?
Yes, The Girlfriend. Somebody was recommending. We didn't talk about it last week just because we didn't really do a lot of like what we're watching. But The Girlfriend, the first episode is pretty wild. This is
Yeah.
a show where it's sort of like a very weird, not love triangle, but like the mom and the girlfriend fighting
Yeah.
over the son and boyfriend,
Yeah.
and they're both kind of like both up to no good. Like,
Yeah,
yes,
Robin Wright and Olivia Cook. I binged it
people
all
in it for House
within
of the
like
Dragon.
24 hours maybe.
Yeah.
It is 6 episodes. It goes by very quickly and it's on Prime. It's very fun. It's billed as a psychological thriller. It's really fun. I don't know. I enjoyed myself. I think probably because both Robin Wright and Olivia Cook are so talented.
Yes.
I felt they played those roles very well to the point of the moral ambiguity of who is good versus bad. They're both kind of bad. It
I,
was really good. So I do recommend it if
I
people are looking for something.
totally agree. I've only watched the one episode. I did think it was fun, and I would like get back to it. I just was not able to get back to it. But
Yeah.
I would agree that it's like the premise is like because you sort of see everything from the mom's point of view, like you see it from mom, and you're like, I
They
don't know.
switch their point of views, yeah, which I think is a fun tactic. It feels, I think it's based on a book as well, and it feels like that,
Okay.
as if you're reading a book that changes perspectives.
Okay.
So yeah,
Yes.
it's really fun.
Okay. Then okay, some movies. So Blue One Battle After Another is probably the biggest movie that's coming out. I believe it's sort of in limited release this weekend. This is the Paul Thomas Anderson movie with Leonardo DiCaprio is the way that's being advertised. There was sort of a thing that happened online for me, Jess, where the movie festivals both like sort of Venice and then Toronto, and you also have Telluride sort of happening. There's all of this thing about like as the critics are seeing the movie, what's the big Oscar contender? Like what's the thing that's sort of like getting all of these rave reviews out of TIFF? I talked about Hamnet last week. That seemed to be the thing that was happening. One Battle After Another, it had not been critics had not seen it and it didn't play at any festivals. And then the Monday during the festival, critics started to have seen it. It had its LA premiere. And people were just like, this movie is incredible. I don't know if it's at 100% on Rotten Tomatoes at the moment, but like this is a highly anticipated movie that's coming out. It's at 97% critic score. Highly anticipated, I think, just because it's a Paul Thomas Anderson movie, who, if you're unfamiliar, has done Phantom Thread and There Will Be Blood and these, some of the greatest films. He doesn't make a movie like every year, so it's a bit of a treat when it happens. Last movie was Licorice Pizza. It's a Leo movie. I think it's going to be like a big deal, more so in the like movie going fandom than like the general public. But to some degree, there's a lot of predictions early on that like this is kind of maybe the Oscar frontrunner for best.
This
picture,
is like the Oppenheimer.
This is a little bit of the Oppenheimer, although it's coming out far late. It's coming out more in a more traditional like awards season moment, the fall,
is it
rather
3
than
hours long.
I bet it's long. Let me see how long.
It's a Leo
it is.
movie. It feels like it's gonna be.
Let's see.
It's to Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah, I'm seeing it on Sunday. It's 2:50 is the
Knew it.
time
I
of the
called
movie.
it. Oh, Oh, I
Mhm.
called it. I called it.
Mhm.
I will not be going to movie theater for 3 hours. And maybe I'd catch it later. I feel like I'm slowly dipping my toe into more Leo movies. It's just
Yeah.
sometimes they're very heavy, Grace. Sometimes they're very not heavy,
No, I get it.
heady. Maybe heady. Maybe heady is the word. Just like I'm not smart enough for this sometimes, you know?
You're smart enough for this movie.
Uh,
This is being billed as sort of an epic action thriller.
okay.
Um, it is when an enemy resurfaces after 16 years, a group of ex-revolutionaries reunite to rescue the daughter of one of their own. That is
Okay.
the a very apparently incredibly contemporary, considering the political climate of our current day and
Yeah.
age. Um, that's that. The Lost Bus is an Apple TV movie. Matthew McConaughey has to navigate a bus full of school children through a wildfire. Apparently, this was like very well received
No kidding.
at TIFF, and it's going to be in theaters for a very short time before it goes to Apple TV. This is written by the same person who wrote Task and Mayor of Easttown as well. So it's a Brad Inglesby
Oh.
screenplay and stars Matthew McConaughey and America Ferrera. So
Oh.
yeah, you might be able to check that out. Blue
Okay.
Moon, another Ethan Hawke movie. This is a Linklater movie that is coming out. This is apparently very like stage play. It's a musical drama about this like I believe queer uh writer. Yeah, Ethan Hawke stars as Lorenz Hart, who wrote, I believe, let's see. He just wrote a bunch of music. Let's see. The people who write like musicals are going to be mad at me at the moment, but that's okay. People liked this out of TIFF as well. So Blue
Okay.
Moon plays this weekend.
Blue Moon.
I think those are kind of. There's a bunch of other stuff, but I don't know whether anything else is sort of like Gabby's Dollhouse the movie. Jess, if you, I don't know how
That's
familiar
a
you are.
children's thing, yeah?
Yeah, it's very much a children's thing.
I
So
feel like I feel like I don't know how. Oh, I think I was watching Big Brother and I saw a commercial for this
yeah,
because I was like,
yeah, you don't
what is
have to.
happening right now? Like
No,
it
you,
was like was I think there was a human. Oh, who's it? Hold on. I need to look this up now.
I believe Kristen Wiig is going to be in this movie.
Because Kristen Wiig showed up on the screen,
Uh,
but
yeah,
this is going to be a come. I was like, is that Kristen Wiig? Because she looks incredible. Not that
yeah,
she doesn't always, but more so that like my Kristen Wiig is like the bridesmaid Kristen Wiig, right?
yeah,
And it's been a number of years since Bridesmaids, and I was like, ma'am, why do you look so good? How are you looking so incredible? Always, all the time.
yeah.
Now,
This movie is, I mean, nobody who's listening to this is probably going to see it unless they have children, but it does have Fortune Feimster and Kyle Mooney and a bunch of other SNL people, like Jason Mantzoukas
wild.
is voicing in this movie. Anyway, I mostly flagged
Yeah,
Gabby's Doghouse as a joke,
I
but
saw it and I thought it was Hello Kitty originally, and I'm so
mm,
sorry to literally everyone because I feel like that's
yeah,
kind of offensive somehow.
that's
Um,
okay.
but that was the first thing I saw. I was like, "Oh, are they making a Hello Kitty thing?" Because I have a niece who loves some character from Hello Kitty whose name I
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah. All right. I think those are the things that are coming out next week. Does most of those things? I mean, there is a lot of TV. I will probably try to check out most of those television things. TBD on who's going to be joining me next week. But I do have something fun in store. If all pans through, we'll give Taran a little bit of break as Big Brother continues, sort of wraps up, and he has some other obligations that he has to fulfill. So I will be holding down the fort here on the Tastemakers. But Jess, I'm so happy that you and I got to chat about TV and movies this week.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. It was really great to like have an assignment of like go watch some of this stuff, and I was like, you know what? I need to watch some new stuff. I would
That's
love to
right.
take on this assignment. So got me to try some new stuff and find high potential, which I'm definitely going to continue on with, and I'll definitely continue on with Gen V as well, and I'll probably finish Black Rabbit.
There we go. Okay, well, in terms of people finding new stuff, they might already be listening to things that you do, but in case they want to check out something new, what else you got going on?
Yeah, so normally I rewatch old stuff over and over and over again. So if you are into the show Schitt's Creek, Grace has joined us on Talkin' Shit a number of times,
Mm-hmm.
where my friend Stuart and I are watching Schitt's Creek. He for the first time, me for however many times I've seen it. We are almost done. We are like looking down the barrel of the final few
Mm-hmm.
episodes of the show. And then over on Shit 90 Shows Taught Me, my friend Sarah and I are covering Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Neither one of us has ever seen it. We probably make fools of ourselves constantly because we make really stupid predictions because we don't know what we're doing. And we're on season 5 of Buffy. So
And
uh
you started that project before it was announced that it's returning. Chloe Zhao is who's the director
Yeah.
of my favorite movie at TIFF, Hamnet. She's the director of that movie. She's the one who's going to run the new Buffy show.
Yeah, we have a habit of like covering things
Yeah.
that eventually like then get a reboot or then come up with their own podcasts. And I think the 90s is just like having a moment now because it's vintage, which makes me want to die. But
Well, I think
yeah,
the thing is that sort of like people. The thing is that like now the things that people who are like our age, those people are like getting to like direct and write things, and they get to they're like inspired by the
true.
things that they watched when they were young, and so then those are the things that are getting like
Yeah.
green. You know, like that's I think like the thing that's happening at the moment.
Yeah. So go check that out. We've covered previously Boy Meets World, Dawson's Creek, Felicity recently. So yeah, go check that out. It's been really fun and I'm really enjoying Buffy. So yeah, that's all I got going on. Go check me out in all those places.
All right, I've got lots of stuff coming out on Parade this week. I interviewed Jonathan Ajay, who's in Alien Earth. I interviewed Mae Martin, that should be coming out. I interviewed Stephanie Koenig, who's an English teacher. So lots of stuff coming out on Parade. So check all that out. This Century in Cinema. I was joined last week by Jofo to talk about Michael Clayton. And this week I'm going to be, I believe, joined by Philly to talk about Gladiator, a movie we have podcasted about before. And we did The Fall of Rome, but we're going to revisit. So very excited for that. I have my Substack, and you can follow me on social media at Hi From Grace. We'll be back next week with another episode of the Tastemakers with guest TBD. Thanks so much for listening. Bye-bye.